Hi, and welcome to the Shoot from the Heart podcast with me, Diane Bell. If you want to write a script, make a movie, or quite simply live an abundant and creatively fulfilled life, you are in the right place. Each week I'll share with you tips, techniques, and real-world information that will inspire and empower you on your path. Thank you so much for joining me. I am rooting for you all the way. Let's do this. Hello, gorgeous souls. I am Diane Bell coming to you live on my Aim from the Heart one page. I didn't expect to be back here for a while. I don't know. My life is always unpredictable, intuition-led, and often surprising even for me. So this is something that has come about because I just feel absolutely soul-led to be here. And I haven't posted on this page for quite a while. And for a little while I was like, will I ever post on this page again? But this felt absolutely like the right place to do this and the right way to do this. So here I am. Before I make the announcement, I actually just want to give you a little bit of context to it. And you'll have seen the title of this was Creatrix Rising. And some of you might know that in previous years, I have indeed shared a course, a program called the Creatrix Codes. And the Creatrix Codes is a completely unique experience that I first came to share. I'm trying to think how many years ago. I think it was 4 years ago. Is it 4 years ago or is it 3 years ago? 4 years ago. I think it was 2020. If you were in the original Creatrix Codes, let me know what year it was. Was it 2020 or was it 2021? So whichever year it was, there we go. There was a moment in my life where I suddenly had a massive download, a massive breakthrough in my own awareness about what it is to be a female artist and what holds so many female artists back. And when I had this breakthrough, it shook me to my core. And it also became like a passion of mine to share this because I think it's one of the biggest liberators in the world when we grasp this. So rewind to me in my 20s when all I wanted to do really was be an artist. Does anybody relate to that? I mean, from when I was a little girl, all I really wanted to do was write stories. I think it was 3 years ago. My time flies so quickly. Okay, so it's 2021 that I had this revelation. I need to look this up. I'm really embarrassed that I can't remember right now. But anyway, it's hot. I'm blaming the heat. 2020. Katrina says 2020. I think it was brilliant. It changed me. Okay. I think it was 2022, but there we go. So we'll see. Anyhow, when I rewind to my 20s, and that was when I started to actually really want to write, but really struggled with it. Like I felt so much resistance. I felt such a blockage. And I thought the problem was me. I thought there was something wrong with me. I thought I wasn't disciplined enough. I thought I was lazy. I thought maybe there was just something about me that I wasn't meant for it, that I wasn't good enough. Maybe I wasn't doing it because I just wasn't talented enough. I explored many different options, but I thought the problem was me, that I was the source of the block. And further to that, I excavated a lot of things in my own life that had contributed to that block as I perceived it. I think back to when I was a little girl and different moments that people had told me things about what was possible for me or what was not possible for me. And I related my blocks to the personal and thought it was just about me. Now, I managed to unblock a lot of the stuff, but even though I actually managed to unblock myself to the point that I could create art, I could let things come through me, I was still blocked into like how safe I felt to be seen. And to be honest, I did not feel safe to be seen at all. When I made my first film, Obslidia, I remember the absolute horror I had when I realized that I had to get up on a stage to introduce the film at Sundance. I was like, what? I have to get up on a stage? No, I do not want to do that. Some of you might see me now and think, oh, that's impossible. Diane's really confident, like she wouldn't have a problem with that. I was mortified. And having to do that was like absolutely terrifying. To be honest, I was in pain all day, like physical, real pain all day, like leading up to that premiere. I was just like this. And when I actually did it, I was in agony. My husband's like waving to me through the window. So physical pain. And I was generally quite confident about reading other people's work or public speaking if it wasn't my words. But the second it was about me and my work, it's my throat would block up and I would sometimes just like spontaneously cry. And it just felt awful. Does anyone here relate to this? Has anyone experienced anything like this?
And so, little surprise as I continued on my artistic journey, that I sort of self-sabotaged in many ways, that I had a lot of different opportunities opening up to me as a screenwriter and a filmmaker. And to be honest, I sabotaged a lot of them. And I did it through different kinds of means. Okay, untold shorts like me. I sabotaged them through different means. So I had worked through my personal blocks, as I say, about just like being an artist, about creating work. But that in itself had taken me like a decade, to be clear. But now I found myself in this different realm of like actually just struggling to feel safe putting my work out into the world and feel safe going to meetings and stepping up to this other level of visibility. And as I say, I self-sabotaged it a lot. Again, my reflection of this was there's something wrong with me. Maybe I'm just not talented enough. So many women will describe having imposter syndrome, even though they've proven that they can do the thing. They've done the thing, but they still feel like somehow they're going to get found out that it was just a fluke, that they don't really know what they're doing. And this is what we live with. So cut to, I remember one time I was at this party that was hosted by Sundance and Women in Film in Los Angeles, and I had been selected to be mentored in their inaugural mentorship program, and I was going to be mentored as a screenwriter and filmmaker by a studio exec, a female studio exec. She was at Columbia Pictures. And this was to gather together the mentors and the mentees and introduce us all to each other, and this whole thing about women in film. So everybody was talking about women in film. This is probably like 2012 that this happened. And I remember having this conversation with these two studio execs, both women, and they were talking about looking for female directors, but how there was nobody to put on the list. They needed a female, they really wanted to hire women, but there was no one to put on the list. And I was really like, how do I get to be on that list? Because I would love to be on that list, right? And I direct films. And I said, what do I need to do in order to be considered to be on the list? And this woman said to me, she looked at me, she was like, Dan, here's the thing. If you were a guy, you would just said, put me on the list. You wouldn't have asked, what do you need to do? You wouldn't have said, what's your next step? You would have just said, put me on the list. And I was like, huh. And it was interesting, this thing of what we call the confidence gap. I became aware of this, that men typically are far more confident about themselves. Like, they've directed one music video and they're like, sign me up to direct that studio picture. Meanwhile, women are like, let me do 10 more shorts, and am I qualified yet? Or let me do 2 more shorts, right? Before I put myself in there. And now I've directed 2 features, but am I still qualified enough? And we feel like we have to go that extra distance. I saw a meme on this subject actually one day, where it was a picture of Beyonce and Ed Sheeran on stage together. And Ed Sheeran was just in t-shirt and jeans, looking like he just rolled off his couch and shown up to the concert. And meanwhile, Queen Bey was fully Queen Beying it, looking like a Ziegfeld Folly girl with the big headdress and the silky and the sequins and all the stuff. And somebody had written, this is the difference between a man and woman. This is how a woman has to show up if she wants to get ahead in the world, compared to how a man gets to show up in the world. But it's not in any way to say that Beyonce shouldn't have been dressed like that or anything like that. She's amazing. We love how she dresses. But there's something in it. There's something in it. Would she, as a woman, be on that stage if she was just like in her jeans and t-shirt, looking like she just rolled out of bed, and have the same level of stardom? Just a thought. As a woman and as an artist, I grappled with this at many different stages of my career and in my life, where I always thought the problem was me, even though I was aware that there is some systemic, obviously, a lot of systemic sexism and misogyny in the arts, in all our different industries. But I really felt what was blocking me was me, and that I was the problem. And I see this with so many female artists, because what happened for me was I started to teach. And this was when it really started to join the dots for me in my head about what was going on, and when I started to do a lot of research around this. But when I started to teach, I immediately attracted a lot of women, a lot of female screenwriters, a lot of filmmakers. And lo and behold, I saw a lot of the same patterns that I had experienced. A lot of the same, I want to do this. I don't know what's wrong with me. Like, I want to write my screenplay, but I just don't seem to get it done. And I don't know why, because I really want to do it. A lot of perfectionism, feeling like we have to be like Queen Bey. We have to be perfect in order to be considered. Like, that's not good enough. We have to be like up here to even imagine that we could do it. And so putting ourselves under enormous pressure to create, pushing ourselves, hustle, drive, all the things, and actually feeling very frustrated, actually feeling like this is not working for me. And so as I started to observe my students who had the same problems that I did, then I started to question this and started to think, this feels like a pattern. Actually, I don't know if this is about me. Like my resistance to creating, is it really a personal thing where it's like something needs to be fixed in me? Or is this something much bigger? Is this something actually about our experience as women? And really, this is where I started to study this and dive into it in all different ways. But when it all clicked together for me, it was much more intuitive. And it wasn't like the intellectual thinking through it. It just suddenly landed for me why so many women struggle with this and why so many women lack the confidence that they should have in themselves as artists, and why so many women don't feel safe to let their voices be heard, and why so many women do struggle with self-sabotage, do struggle with procrastination, with perfectionism, with imposter syndrome, with all these things, and think that there's something wrong with them, but actually it's not. And what started to become clear to me is that this is really the effects of the patriarchy. And I know that sounds like you might be like, oh, Diana, I'm leaving this conversation now. The effects of the patriarchy. This is crazy. But bear with me and just sit with me for a minute if you're listening to this, because honestly, I hope this lands for you and I hope you start to understand this in a very deep way. Here's the thing. You cannot do, be, or have something in this world unless you believe it's possible for you, unless you believe you are worthy of it, and unless you believe it is safe for you to receive it. Okay? So those are 3 criteria. If you, as a human, do not feel that it's possible for you, or that you're worthy of it, or that it's safe for you to receive it, in your subconscious, you will block it. And that's where the blocks come up, and it's like procrastination, perfectionism, oh, I just don't have time, oh, there's shit going on in my life, I'm just too busy, I've got sick again, oh, this is happening. All that stuff, all of that is manifested by your subconscious if, as I say, you don't actually believe it's possible for you, you don't believe you're worthy of it, and you don't believe you're safe to receive it. Now, if we rewind just a nanosecond in the history of women in this world, we will see that for a very long time, and we are talking about thousands of years, women have been actually in a position where it wasn't possible for them to be creative people. It wasn't possible for them to be artists. For the vast majority of women in the last 2,000 years in Western civilization, it has not been possible for a woman just to be an artist and be a creative person. Now, the second thing, has it been possible? Have they felt like they're worthy of it? This is something that's a huge one, because I believe as women, we are so ingrained with models of masculine genius, models of masculine creativity, that we are indoctrinated into this idea of men being the creators, men being the geniuses, men being the ones that we have up on pedestals. And I personally first started really realizing this when I was back in my 20s, when I was a blocked writer. When I looked at my bookcase one day and realized all the books were by men. And I was a big reader. I was so into the classics. I had all the books by like really great writers, but all men. And what was interesting was I had men from all around the world. Like I read a lot of Japanese authors. I read African authors. I read Korean. I read authors from all around the world. A lot of Russians, German, French. But I didn't read women. And it was like, ooh, what is that doing to me? And when I reflected back to going to school, going to high school, going to university, I studied literature for a while in university, we didn't read any women. We didn't read women. And when I went to the art galleries, who was the art by? It was by men. And when I went to the movie theater, who were the movies by? They were by men. There was nothing there saying, like, you as a woman have a worthy voice, like your view of the world is worthy, your view, and you can do it, and you're worthy of it. No, I had completely internalized the idea that it's men who do this. Now this goes into actually the birth of the patriarchy, this shift that occurred whereby for tens of thousands of years on this planet, all around the planet, peoples celebrated the goddess. They celebrated the goddess. The goddess was the creatrix. The goddess was the one who gave birth to the world and everything in it. And you see that image everywhere with a big belly woman figure who gives birth to everything. The Creatrix was female. But suddenly this little shift happened where the creator was male. I was just reading about this today, how the Holy Spirit in the original text was actually, that Jesus spoke of, Yeshua spoke of, was feminine. But then in one translation, it got shifted into the masculine. The goddess was taken out of it. And slowly over thousands of years, what we were taught is that men are the creators. Men are that creative force. And women are not. And even worse than that, I believe, because women are the natural creators, it's through us that human life is created. It's through us. Every single human on the world came from the womb of a woman. Every single human being. But we've been taught that actually there's something wrong with us here too, that we are sinful, that we are shameful, that there's something dirty about us, that there's something inferior about us. And in the patriarchy, we're taught the feminine is inferior to the masculine. Like even in this day where we try to create equality and women can be really masculine. Women, we can do as much as men can do. We can do those hard jobs. We can do those hard things. We can work in STEM, right? We can roll up our sleeves and be as good as the men. Great, fantastic. But are we yet in a place where we can put the feminine up on the same pedestal that we have the masculine? We start to celebrate feminine qualities the way that we celebrate masculine qualities. We start to embrace the idea that there is a way to be a creatrix that is based on the feminine and not on the masculine. Now, I honestly believe that this is what is necessary in our world in order for us to heal this planet. And we would all agree that it needs some healing. The masculine, when it's completely unbalanced by the feminine, is not a healthy thing at all. And this is where we put ends in front of means, where we destroy Mother Nature, where we value thinking and logic and profit over the heartfelt, the heart-led, the emotional. As I discovered this, I started also to think about the effects of history on women. And this is where we get into the part we talked about, is it possible for us to be artists? Do we feel worthy? And historically, it's not been possible. We don't feel worthy, but is it safe? And here we get into something that's really deep and really essential for us to understand, and that really holds a key that can unlock and change everything in your life. But obviously, for a long time, it has not been safe for women's voices to be heard. Now, in my own heritage, I'm Scottish. We had over 300 years where witchcraft trials were a thing. I almost get emotional when I talk about this. You might be watching this thinking, oh my God, why is Diane crying about witchcraft trials that happened hundreds of years ago? But literally thousands of women in my country were murdered for being women. And when you think of the impact of that on the women who came before us, and I want you to think, if you've got any European heritage at all, you come from this. Every woman in Europe was impacted by the effects of the witchcraft trials, or the burning times, as they are sometimes called. When women were literally tortured and executed in the most horrendous ways in public squares for practicing things of herbalism, of being close to nature, of talking with animals, of curing children, of healing people. Like, these were the kinds of crimes that caused women to actually to be held as witches. What is the impact on this, and why am I talking about this when we're talking about, hey, Diane, I'm just thinking about me as a woman today and how I get to create art and live my fullest potential. Here's the thing. If you're a woman who comes from a heritage where there was this experience, I would argue if you're any woman, but you're going to be imprinted by this. Epigenetics has shown us very clearly that trauma changes our DNA. And this is incredible studies that have been done on Holocaust survivors and their offspring, that we realize that it's not just the people who experience the trauma that it affects, but their children and their grandchildren and so on, because DNA is literally affected by trauma. If you imagine for a moment that we've seen that, we have scientific evidence of that for Holocaust survivors. But imagine now for a second the effect of the witch trials, where we're not talking about 6 years of trauma, but generation after generation after generation of trauma. You know, is this resonating? Can you follow this? If you think of women over hundreds of years, first of all, just like mothers, sisters saying to their children, do you know what, they're girls, like, you keep quiet. You don't let yourself be too noisy. You don't let yourself be seen too much, and you'll be fine. Because that's been the experience of being a woman for hundreds of years. And if you don't think that has affected your genetic makeup, if you don't think it's affected like the fiber of your identity, then I think that you're missing an opportunity to really create deep transformation in yourself and deep healing. Because here's the beautiful thing. Just as trauma can affect our DNA, we have the power to heal it. We have the power to heal it. And this is healing ancestral trauma. This is us claiming our power back as women. This is us coming home to ourselves. This is that moment where we go, enough. All those lies, all that trauma, all that fear, and there's many other traumas too, obviously historically, that women have suffered, including sexual abuse, including traumas of war, all those things. But this is our opportunity now in 2024 to actually heal the ancestral trauma that has been passed down from mother to daughter, from mother to daughter, to mother to daughter, to you now. And it is possible for you to heal this, and it is possible for you to reconnect with your true power as a woman, because here's the big thing. Women are creatrix. We are literally walking portals to the divine. And what I mean by this is through you, the human soul is birthed into this realm, into this three-dimensional world that we live in. It's through you. And this is true whether you have a womb, whether you're actually able to have children or not, whether you did have children or not. It doesn't actually matter, because this is about energy. This is about your energetics. You are a magical being. And this is the most destructive thing I believe that the patriarchy has inflicted on women, is this feeling that they're not enough, because we're trying to be like the masculine, and in that race we're always going to lose. We're just not. We are not the same, and that is not a bad thing. And it's not that we're better or that we're more powerful, but we are different and we're equally powerful. And the power of the creatrix is the power to create anything you desire. This is your natural state of being. Your natural state of being is to create. And it might be to create a family, it might be to create community, it might be to create meals, it might be to create a loving environment, it might be to create screenplays, it might be to create movies, it might be to create whatever it is, abundance, untold abundance, to create prosperity for yourself and for your family. Whatever it is that you feel in you, some desire to create, you have the power to create it, but that power is unleashed only when you truly align yourself with who you really are, when you reawaken to the truth of who you are, when you ignite your power as a creatrix. And this power is what was taken away from us by the patriarchy. It's like this feeling of being disconnected from the truth of who we are. But when we come home to this truth, and really it can happen in a moment, and this is what we're going to be doing in this session that I'm going to be sharing soon for free, we are going to be reconnecting you with that truth, reigniting that flame inside you, and allowing you a true and deep remembering of who you really are. Creatrix, magical being. So, oh, Carol, hello. I'm so happy to see you too. Good morning. If this is resonating with you on any level at all, if you're like, I feel there's something here for me, I invite you to join me for a free session on the new moon of August 4th. It will be happening at 5 p.m. Barcelona time. We're going to put it all in. So we are going to be putting it, you'll find all the information. This is completely free. And if you've been in my world for more than 1 year, you'll know that I do these events like mostly once a year. This event for women. And it's really a circle of women gathering. We will come together. We will discuss some of this in a little bit more depth. There will be some context. And then you will be guided in an actual activation, which will reconnect you with your power and just bring you into that remembrance. When I've done this before, women are just like, oh my God, I just feel changed. There is something in this that is incredibly powerful if you feel open to it, if it feels aligned, if you feel ready for it. So if you've been listening to this and it just feels at all like I want, there's something here for me, please join us. And as I say, it's completely free. I'm going to put the link in now so that you can go there and sign up. I hope it's all ready to go. I've been packing to travel today, so I haven't been checking these things. I'd love to revisit. Please come to this. So this is going to be this free event, Creatrix Rising is what I've called it. And this is about reawakening the Creatrix and your power as a Creatrix and connecting with it. And even if you've done something like this before, like reconnecting, coming together in circle and just feeling that energy and connecting all together, it's powerful. It's really powerful. I hope that this is like maybe set some light bulbs off in you or awaken some things or reminded you of some things. And honestly, just to give you some context for this, I believe, and I always say this about these offerings, I only do this once a year. This will be the gateway to me opening up the Creatrix Codes again. The Creatrix Codes is a in-depth program that happens over one lunar month. We start on a full moon, we end on a full moon. It's very grounded in ritual. It's very grounded in authentic sharing and in our women's circle. But it's also the delivery and receiving of 12 codes that really contain the keys to completely reignite yourself as a female artist, as a female creatrix. So if that calls to you, that will be coming. But first, we're going to do this thing, Creatrix Rising. This will not be, just to be clear, this is not like Creatrix Rising is some sort of webinar that's a pitch for you to come to Creatrix Codes. It is not that. It is in itself an activation. It is in itself an experience. I will not have slides at it. I don't think so. No, I'm pretty sure I will not have slides. It will be completely just like us talking and then an activation. It's a ceremony. It's a ritual. It's an experience. Even if you're like, I don't know if I want to do the Creatrix Codes, come to this experience, Creatrix Rising, experience what this is like. If you've never had this kind of experience, it could change your life forever, that one session. And if you have, then come back to the well, reconnect, reorient yourself. It's so important to do this. As I've mentioned, I believe that in all honesty, so I believe with all my heart that this work is crucial for us as individuals, as well as for the planet at large. And it's really in that spirit that I come offering this experience. As most of this year, I'm really focused on my Shoot from the Heart business. And if you go to Shoot from the Heart, that's where I am all the time, teaching screenwriting, filmmaking. And I love that. And I'm so happy to do that. And that is such a big part of my purpose. But I also know, and it's just something that's so powerfully intuitive for me, that this is something that I have to share too. And I think it's because partly I work with so many female artists to this day, screenwriters, filmmakers, and I see them struggle with these things. And I actually know what will dissolve those struggles. I know what will melt away those struggles. I know what will catapult them to the next level. And it's not actually, oh, I need a better time management program. Oh, I need to overcome my imposter syndrome. It's not these things. It's actually, I need to come home to my freaking power as a creatrix. I need to connect to the truth of who I am, which is so magical and so powerful. And when I get into that and I can shed the fear, shed the conditioning that is not safe from me, shed all that energetic encasing that we have from the patriarchy, then I'm going to be free to create. And I'm telling you, you'll skyrocket after this. So if you are a female artist and you deal with any of those things, perfectionism, procrastination, self-sabotage of any kind, buffering, like using things as buffers instead of doing your work or getting your work in, alcohol, shopping, whatever it is for you. If there's any of this stuff going on, I invite you to come to this. This could be the answer. It really could. So I'm just going to check the messages. If you have any questions at all, please ask me. If you want to come to this thing, please sign up. I would love for you to be part of it. Helga, thank you so much. I hope you'll come to the session. This is going to be really special. I haven't done one of these for a long time, and I'm super excited about it. And as I said, it just feels like something that I feel called to do at this point. And I'm just excited to see who feels called to be part of it, because that's really what it's about. I believe that there's no chance when it comes to these things. If you feel that calling, if you're listening to this, it's probably because you're meant to be there. You're meant to be there. Dates again. So the Creatrix Rising, this free event, is on August 4th, which is a new moon, and it's at 5 p.m. If you go to the website, dianebell.com/creative, I will. Somehow the website is not taking my entry. This is not good, Helga. Thank you for telling me. This was what I was afraid of. I was like, I hope everything is right. I haven't double checked it all before I came on here. But in the chaos, I always trust that everything's fine. Okay, so I'm here. I'm just going to test it out for myself. It is asking me to do a select all images, a recapture. So I think it's working for me, Helga. I don't know why it's not working for you. Okay, so if anybody else goes there, so it's dianebell.com/Creatrix Rising. And this is just to join this free event, a free new moon gathering, all women, where we are going to reconnect with our power. It's going to be magical. So looking forward to this. It seems like it's become, without me intending it to be, maybe that's the thing. It's just like the seasonal thing. The Creatrix thing just comes for me at this time of year. And I just feel like, oh, we got to do it. We got to do another round of it. I'm always like, I don't know. Maybe this is the last time that I do it. Every time I do it, I'm like, maybe this is the last time, because it's so out of the box for me. It's so different to other things that I do. But I just keep feeling the calling. Like this year, I was shocked. It just suddenly came up to me and I was like, I have to do it. I think, to be honest, this will sound quite selfish. I think it's as much for me as it is for you. I think for me, it feels really important to re-anchor myself every year in this energy of the feminine, that it feels really important for me to reconnect with these truths and to re-strengthen it in myself. We've got to straighten our crowns. Exactly. And to gather women, there's a power in us women coming together. There's a power in us having these conversations. There's a power in us addressing these things that have held us back in so many ways for so many generations. But it's our generation right now. It's us as women alive today in this moment who have the opportunities that most of our mothers did not have, that certainly most of our grandmothers did not have, and our great-grandmothers forget about it. When I think about my own matrilineage, and I don't know about you, what was possible for my mother, what was possible for my grandmother was so narrow. And I am so blessed and I am so grateful to the women who came before me, and I suspect we all feel this way. Like, we owe it to them to heal this stuff, because us continuing to play small because of what we have inherited from them, because of the injustices that they had to live through, is what keeps us stopped, keeps us blocked, keeps us playing small, less than our full potential. My desire is for every woman to actually experience the true power that resides inside her. We have a sisterhood. I think, as I said, like part of the reason that I do this every year, and I've realized I wasn't really planning to do it this year, but suddenly I was like, I gotta do it. And I think for me, it's about reconnecting with that, because living in a masculine dominated society, as we all do, we are all living in a masculine dominated society. It's really important that we get together and strengthen this. It's really important that we remind ourselves and connect and go, wait a second, that's awesome. So the sisterhood is rising, the Creatrix is rising. And I believe that's what this time in history is about. It's about the goddess, the woman rising truly into her power, into who she was always meant to be. And it takes each of us hearing that calling, listening to that calling, and doing it. Carol, the way to sign up right now is just to go to that link, dianebell.com/creative rising. Yeah, oh, please do. I just go, there's power in sisterhood. There's power in it. And when we come together and reconnect with it, and that's that thing of also actually, and it's something that is one of the codes that we go into in depth in the Creatrix codes, but one of the things that the patriarchy has inflicted upon us is separation, and is this feeling of being in competition with each other. And to me, what the codes are all about and what this is about is coming together. And this is why for me, I'm here just as I am, just authentic. There's no filter. It's me being completely raw and open with you, because this is what this is about to me. This is not about some idealized perfect self. This is where women come together as who they are in their authenticity and share from their hearts and really discover that as we are enough, we don't have to be different than who we already are. We are already so powerful, more powerful than we can ever imagine. Helga, I'm so happy. I just came on here so impromptu. You can tell this. I've just been doing lots of things today. I know we need to set up something. So right now, the best way to do it, the best way to see this is to just go to dianebell.com/ and just write Creative Rising. So you'll get an email and then you can click on the link. You will not be left out, because it is on August 4th, but I would love for you to be part. Sol, hello, welcome. All right, my loves, I do need to go now. I have another call coming up, but yes, So dianebell.com/creative rising. I would love for you to be part of this. Together we rise. And that is always the mantra of the Creatrix codes. That's always the mantra of these female-led offerings that I sometimes make, that I sometimes have. Together we rise. Together we are so powerful. When we tap into that, we're unstoppable. So I'm so excited to thank you. I can't wait to do this with you. Thank you so much for being here with me today. Together we rise. I will hopefully see you soon. Take care. Bye.
Thank you so much for listening to the podcast today. I know you can listen to so many different podcasts, so it really means the world to me that you chose to listen to this. If you've enjoyed this and you've had any value out of this podcast at all, can I ask a little favor? Could you please share it on social media or go to wherever you're listening to it and leave a review so that other people can find it? I really, really appreciate it so much. I love you so much, and I can't wait to see you at the next one. If you want to get in touch at any point, send me a message, support@dianebell.com, and also check out my website, dianebell.com, and see what I'm up to. Hopefully I'll see you in the social medias. Take care, and I'll see you next time.